Welcome to the history. Welcome to the culture. Welcome to community that dreams and achieve. Living in change for better tomorrow. Welcome to the Eunice Malath Show.
Hello, welcome to the Eunice Malath Show. I'm your host, Eunice Malath. There's a famous adage that states, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And it is true in relation to the story that we have to share with you today. We have a great guest with us here. Her name is Marlene Kanmogne, and she's a neuroscience major at Johns Hopkins University. She's also a young author. She's written a book called Mind Wanderer, and we're happy to have you here with us today. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're most welcome. Yes. You're most welcome. So you're originally from West Africa, from the country of Cameroon.
Yes.
Tell us about your childhood there.
My childhood there, from what my parents tell me, was great. It was one where I did tend to stay home a lot, which is probably why I always wanted to walk around. I love walking around now. That probably stems a little bit from there. But it was one that I'm pretty sure was full of a lot of family. My grandmother took care of me a lot, and so did all my aunts. They also took care of me a lot. My mom says that the one person who was able to really be the enforcer for me was my Auntie Leo. And so just things like that probably did help a lot in terms of my childhood there. And I did go back and forth between Cameroon and England because my mom was doing her studies in England at the time. I was actually born in England. Oh. So that back and forth from my mom and then back to my dad in Cameroon, and then finally me and my dad both went to England. And then after all that, we finally came to America, where we were in Oklahoma.
Oh,
yes.
Very nice. So you're an international traveler.
Yes.
Born in England, you know, raised in Cameroon, and then you transitioned here to America and stuff, you know. So at what age did you leave Cameroon? I
actually left when I was 4 years old.
Oh yeah, pretty young
yes.
then.
It's funny because French was my first language because we were in the Francophone part of Cameroon. And I lost it when I came here. My dad tells me a funny story about when I did move to the US and move to Oklahoma, about how I came home one day and I was angry because all the other little boys and girls didn't know how to speak French, and only I spoke French, and I didn't know how to speak English. And so I yelled at him in French, and I was just like, I'm never speaking French again. And unfortunately I did lose it, which is a horrible thing. Like having multiple languages would be great right now. It's something I'm actually working on right now. My phone is in French. I sometimes try to pick up some French lingo, just trying to get that back.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
I know, it's like you don't realize the older you get how important it is to know your culture, and also how important it is to know the language and stuff.
Yes,
you know?
And especially the language. It's right now when I do speak to my grandmother and I do speak to some of my aunts and uncles, we have to kind of go through broken versions of each other's language just because I don't know French as well as I should, and they have some English. We piece it together and we make it work, but having that fluid communication exactly would be excellent, and something that I hope that I'm able to gain before it gets too late.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And especially you're starting at a young age, you know, later on 10 years from now, I mean, you'll be fluent, you'll be teaching some of us how to speak French, you know. You never know, you never know. Yes. Yeah, so you went to high school here in Omaha?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, after Oklahoma, I did stay until about 5th grade when I moved to Nebraska, and I did go to high school here. I went to Millard North High School, go Saints, and it was a good experience going to that high school. It was a public high school. I made some good friends, transition friends, you know, had a lot of stereotypical high school experiences, but in the end, it was a good school, good fit for me.
And what were the stereotypical high school experiences?
Definitely just some crushes I probably shouldn't have had. Things like that. I was frustrated with some courses. I've never been a person that was good at math, so lots of after school studying, went through sports. My first sport, it was really ice skating, but my first major sport was tennis. I played tennis a lot. Me and my dad always used to play, and then it got to the point where he would talk about tennis all the time. He would always be, anytime we went to tennis, talk about my form. In the car, talk about my form. At dinner, talk about my form. I was like, Dad, stop talking about my form. To the point where I probably stopped it a little bit. And then in high school, it was just a culmination of, you know, trying out for tennis, and then I did soccer for a bit. In the end, I actually stuck with track. Track was good. It was healthy for me, and I met some of my best friends today in it. So that was just, those experiences about like bonding and stuff definitely helped out.
Exactly, and also with sports comes discipline.
Yes.
And I read an article not too long ago, they were talking about how people who participated in sports when they were either in high school or college level end up becoming CEOs of companies and really being very successful individuals because they have that discipline from a young age and stuff, you know?
And that's a correlation I am not surprised at, just because when you do have a sport, when you have any extracurricular activity, you have to find time to fit in your sport, your studies. Are you volunteering to? There's so many different things. And then it does make sense to pull out a planner.
Exactly.
Even though before it might have seemed nerdy or weird to you before, it makes sense to pull it out because you need to know, all right, I finished practice at 7 and then I need to eat because, you know, I need to sustain myself. Oh, I have this homework due. I have this project due. It really instills discipline and most importantly, time management. Yes.
Oh yeah, that is very important, especially in the field that you're in right now. So tell us about how you became a neuroscience major and what made you interested in that field.
Really, it all starts and ends with the brain. This organ, tool, tissue up here is amazing to me. It's something that I think is our new final frontier. It's the new manifest destiny. It is what we don't know about but need so integrally. And it's one of those things that I want to be able to discover. I want to be able to find, I think there's a puzzle, something so deep ingrained in us that like if we find out, it'll take us to that next level, you know what I'm saying? And I want to be able to help at least aid in finding that part out. It's something that's exciting to me and something why when I went to Johns Hopkins and I realized they did have a neuroscience major, there was no doubt in my mind I was going to be one. Because originally when I had come in, I had written an essay because they said, what are the majors you think you're going to have and why? And I'd said psychology and biology because I think you need to know the biology behind the brain, but also how we use the brain. And then when I came in and found out there was neuroscience, I was like, there it is. Don't need to do both of them, I'll just do neuro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with neuroscience and stuff, do you want to be a surgeon or do you want to focus more on the science aspect of it?
It's funny because that's a question I had asked myself a lot and something I'm definitely still thinking about. MD, PhD, there's so many options.
Yeah.
I know that in terms of surgery, there was always that qualm I had about placing my hands on something so delicate. One little wrong move and I'm speaking gibberish. Just something about that I was like, huh. And to the point where I was thinking, maybe I'll be a cardiothoracic surgeon because I thought that'd be exciting. But I knew I couldn't let go of the brain. The brain needed to be an integral part of my job.
Exactly.
Or my future job, hopefully. And so now I'm thinking of being a neurologist, having the ability to continue to learn about the brain as well as give knowledge about the brain. And that's something I see myself fitting well in. Yes.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And I think that's really fascinating that you're interested in neuroscience and stuff, especially talking about the brain. There are a lot of ailments associated with the brain, especially mental health issues and stuff like that, from schizophrenia, depression, and things of that nature. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, I'm taking a course called Diseases and Disorders of the Nervous System, where we really get kind of a broad overview of all these different things. We've had a schizophrenia talk, we've had talks about Alzheimer's, and these are really debilitating disorders that take people away from the workforce. These are disorders that really we need to put a lot of emphasis on because they take away an integral part of us being human, and they're disorders we don't know much about because we don't know much about the organ in which it's affecting. And so that's kind of the bad part. It's also the exciting part. Because it means that there's something we can do. There's still something left to do. And I mean, I feel like it's great when I see either other people interested in the brain or anybody interested in something of this nature where they have that passion for it because this is here, we can do this. Like we can go get educated about these things and then make connections from this field and that field and really find out like what is something that you can think of that can change the whole game? What is something you can think of that can make someone's life better? You know, stuff like that. So in terms of those disorders, they're really debilitating, but there's something we need to focus on, and there's something I'm excited to tackle.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of stigmas associated with the mental health disorders and stuff.
Most definitely.
Exactly, as a future doctor, you know, how can you eradicate or even actually eliminate part of the stigma associated with the disorders?
With that, it really, I believe, will start and end with the patient. I'm an anthropology minor, because I didn't want to just know the biology. I wanted to know how we humans interact with each other, because that's something that not a lot of people take into consideration.
Yeah.
Because when I'm looking at people, they come from all different backgrounds, they come from all different experiences and stories. So when someone's saying something, I can't just take it for face value. I have to know what connotations are you associating with it. I can't just label someone as crazy. I need to know what is your crazy. You know, I need to associate everything with that person
Exactly,
first.
with your culture. You know?
Exactly, and
Heritage.
culture is so important in these factors. There's all these cases about, oh, this person won't let their child have a certain medicine. And then you'll see all these people being like, well, that's crazy. This medicine's going to save the child's life. I understand that, and that's great, but you can't stop there. You have to go talk to the person. You have to understand their point of view. That's what I'm hoping my anthropology minor provides me. Being able to understand a person's point of view is also being able to communicate with them on their terms and their language, which when it comes to doctor-patient or any type of situation like that, helps immensely, helps to bridge a gap and gain some really understanding so that when you're giving advice, you're not seen as, oh, this person thinks they know what they're doing and they don't really
I'm an authoritarian in this field.
Exactly,
You know
because when that happens, there's distrust. There's distrust that completely limits the interaction between the two people.
It does,
So when it comes to stuff like that, it's definitely like important to take into account the other person's culture. That is something that's almost as important as like the life itself. Like,
exactly. I know there's not only just one culture, one Western culture that we all should emulate.
Exactly.
You know? When we go to our homes, we speak our own languages, we eat our own types of foods and stuff, you know. That is part of our culture, you know, that we need to take into consideration and stuff like that, you know.
Exactly. And when it comes to culture, like, I know I am immensely proud and I love my heritage. I love being Cameroonian. I love the music I listen to. I love the food I eat, and it's something that really is a part of me. And being able to express that is something that I hope that I can continue to do as I move on. I hope that's never something I let go of. I'm working immensely so that it never is. And everyone else should work immensely to never let go of their side too. You know, it's things like that that make us unique.
I would just like to say that if there's one thing that is commendable, or that I think for the most part can be considered something that you can admire, or something that you can or should aspire to, is to be somebody that is very well versed in their culture, to walk with your head up, to carry yourself with a sense of respect and dignity, and to be able to not compromise your values and standards in order for you to move on to the next step that you feel you need to do that. And so I think that's something that if we do that, we can ensure that our cultures can withstand the hands of time. Thank you.
So how did your parents inspire you to become a neuroscience major?
In terms of the major, my mom is actually a scientist herself. She works on diseases of the brain. She works on HIV and AIDS and how that affects the brain and the cognitive disorders associated with that. So from a young age, I definitely was in the lab a lot. Not obviously doing things, but my mom, when she needs to work, she needs to work.
Exactly.
So me being like too young to stay home alone wasn't gonna stop her. I'll just stay in the conference room, sit there and just read, you know, stuff like that. So I got used to that at a young age. And then in terms of both of them as a unit, it was definitely just that my dad is very encouraging. He's always telling me, you know, the sky is not your limit. You need to go past it.
So the fact that you're female and that you're Black, that was not a deterrent at all in your aspirations? In
terms of my aspirations, no. That I had to step out of just family and then get into society. And then it was some slight deterrence there, like, oh, I mean, but you could do this, something that people maybe see as lower. And then it's like, but that maybe might more fitting. But I
Where
had
did
that.
you get that?
Just in terms of when you look at who do you see, especially with media, who do you see out there? Who do you see as the big figures, the big names? A lot of times you're not seeing Black women out there. And so when you keep seeing the same face, the same type of person, it immediately, innately makes you think, well, maybe only those people get to be that. And that was when it took my parents and then also myself later on being like, no, of course not. you have just as much to offer. You can keep going, you can keep pushing, and honestly, be that other face, that other name. And it's something that I think that any black woman, any woman can do, you know what I'm saying?
Only black man, only black boy can do.
Anyone,
you know?
really, and it really takes that, that will, that push, that fire, because in the end, we're all human. We are all capable of greatness, and it's really about tapping into what is meant for you, you know what I'm saying? Tapping into what drives you, and then why can't we be those faces now?
Exactly, and you had a great example with your parents and stuff. Your mom, she has a PhD, right?
Yeah, she has a PhD and then also a master's in public health.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, come on, you know, that's pretty impressive, you know? So she's somebody that you can look at as a role model, and also somebody that's there, that's been there, and you've seen her example through her actions and stuff.
Oh, most
you know?
definitely.
Yeah. And what does your dad do for a living?
My dad right now, he works in Chicago, but he also has had like his master's and stuff like that. So I did have both of them definitely pushing the educational side. That education in my family was number one. Even now when I get calls or I call them from school, it's like, how are your studies going? Because they do find that to be very important. And beyond that, my mom was definitely an excellent role model who always made sure to tell me, one thing she always told me is, don't forget you have to do better than me. Every single time. And that's something that I think is really important, because you can't just aim to be somebody that you already know is there. Aim to beat them. You really got to push and aim higher, because you have to always have that belief that I can push and aim higher.
That
and
is
when
so
you
true.
do that, then you're, first of all, you're going to feel immensely great when you finally reach the person.
Exactly.
You're just like, wow.
And then you could be like, I beat you.
And even that, even then, it's not like this is a huge competition. This is all about building one another up.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's in good fun.
Exactly.
You know?
And so even when you do beat the person, you've both won. Because this person has inspired you to do something great. They've left their legacy slightly in you. And that's something that I think, if I were to ever do that, would be immense. I'd be immensely grateful for that feeling. So you've both helped each other. It's a nice symbiotic relationship. And in the end, it will produce, I think, some true quality in terms of work and in terms of people, in terms of the next generation even, seeing all that.
Yeah, exactly. Even with my parents and stuff, I mean, my dad got dual degrees, one in political science, another one in economics, while my mom got a minor in English and a major in agriculture and stuff. And my mom was always insisting that you have to go beyond just a bachelor, obtain a master's, or go higher and get your PhD. So I think that's the great thing about parents, when they're able to push you, then, you know, it motivates you and stuff, because you can only do so much, and then they have to propel you forward, you know?
And it definitely doesn't even have to stop there. I've had friends and heard stories. I'm the first person to go to college, but don't think it was the parents weren't there. Those parents were still pushing. Those voices were still there saying, you have to do this, you have to, you can and you will and you must perform. And you know, those voices, even though there is pressure and it's scary at some points, especially when my dad's like, don't forget when I'm older, like, you need to buy me a jet. Like, you know, when those expectations are pushed right on you.
They become so overwhelming.
No, it does become slightly overwhelming, and sometimes you're like, but I just want to sleep. Why can't you just expect me to sleep? But in the end, it really does benefit you. It really does help you, and it produces, I think, some remarkable things.
Yeah, especially now with the high rate of school dropouts among the minority population. I mean, how would you encourage those kids who feel like giving up and stuff and not wanting to continue and going further into the university level? What would you tell them, especially if they don't have as educated as parents as you have? Because you're fortunate, you know?
Yeah, I definitely
I mean, what would you tell them? Because, I mean, there's nobody around that might motivate them to actually aspire for more.
In that case, I think it's definitely time to, like, look within yourself and know that you are just as capable. I feel like that's a lesson that a lot of people don't get, and especially when you don't have those other forces telling you that. And it's really hard to, like, look in the mirror and be like, but wait a second, I am Marlene Kanmogne, and that means something. That is something that I can say to myself, and actually I can't even say to myself right there, right now. That's still a work in progress. Even when you think you've got it, you still don't got it. It's still a work in progress. You still have to keep being able to say to yourself, I can do this, period. And once you have that in you, not even the full part, but even a part of it, once you can even fake it till you make it when it comes to something like this. You can just kind of use that drive, that internal drive, to push you, because in the end, that little spark, people can see it. And when people see it, they want to be a part of it. Like, when people see that little spark and drive and passion, they're like, wait a second, he does have something. I need to go put, like, let me help build him up.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me help do this and that. So when it comes to, you know, man, studies aren't going well. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to make it, stuff like that. You can and you will. And you just have to especially use your resources. That's the number one thing I definitely say. Use your resources. They're there.
Yeah, especially in this country, there's so much.
There's so many.
There's so much out there that people need to take advantage of, you know?
And it's definitely difficult. And I would say it's definitely difficult for minorities, just because sometimes those resources aren't necessarily, sometimes the system isn't there for you. And sometimes, especially with recent events, you really see that system not being there for you. But that doesn't mean you stop. That means you fight harder, because those resources are supposed to be there for you as well. That means you go and you say hi to, or you say hello to your school counselor and your school guidance counselor, and you say, I want to get into this school. How do we make this happen?
Exactly.
That's it. That is their job, to help you do that. So you should not ever feel ashamed. I know me and my guidance counselor had a nice, tight relationship, because I used to be like, I've done this. Do I need to do this? What do you want me, like, what do I need to do? Because I don't know. You know. Please teach me. Help me. You know, sometimes just doing that simple thing. First of all, your guidance counselor is like, wow, you're serious. You are serious. And that little bit is the same thing as what I was talking about with the other guy who's like, I see something. I'm gonna help that person. We're gonna do it, you know? And I think things like that really can help.
Exactly. So it boils down to really you valuing yourself, you know, valuing your time.
Is really important.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I think that's really the cause of a lot of issues. If you have low self-esteem, you tend to do things that are adversely affect your life and stuff, you know?
No, self-worth and self-value is a crucial part of this, because you need to understand that you do deserve that greatness that you only dream about. You deserve your dreams. They were not put in your head for no reason. They didn't just come out of the blue. They were put in your head because somewhere you know that at least part of that aspect you can get it.
Absolutely.
You just have to work for it.
Oh yes, oh yes. So you're an author.
Yeah.
And you're only 20 years old.
Yes.
That is just unbelievable.
Thank you, thank you.
How did you start writing, or what motivated you to start writing?
The start, I know the real start came from weekly summaries I had to do when I was younger. Every book I read, my parents would always be like, write me a summary. Every one of them. I'm talking when I was really young, when I was reading Nate the Great, The Magic Tree House. Yeah. Tell me what happened. Oh, okay, I'll tell you. No, write me a summary. I used to get very annoyed. Yeah. And my brother and sister, they're younger, they're 10 and 11 right now, they have to do it now. Oh. And I laugh to myself because I can see the anger, the frustration in their eyes. Why do we have to do this? And I'm just like, it'll pay off, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly.
Just things like that really did help me to at least get used to writing, to the point where when it would come to school assignments, I was writing too much. Even now, I'm used to writing too much because I got used to it from a young age. And then writing is also right now a really good outlet. Life gets stressful, busy, you have school, work, volunteering, thinking about the next step. There's always a next step, so you're always thinking about something else.
Exactly.
And so writing is a good outlet for me. My mind's always going. My mind doesn't really rest. Sometimes I wish I could just tone it down, quiet it, just chill out, but that doesn't happen. I'm always thinking about something, thinking about my day, thinking about tomorrow, thinking about the past. So just to have an outlet to put all this down was what writing was for me, especially creative writing.
Exactly.
So that's where that all started.
So you brought your book with us. Can you show our viewers?
Yes, I did.
Oh, look at that book, Mind Wanderer.
Yes.
By Marlene Kanmogne. Wow. So tell us about the book.
The book?
Yes.
Basically, it shows the story of a young girl, 15, Melissa Wagner, who basically lives a pretty casual life, kind of goes through the high school experience, the stereotypical high school experiences I had mentioned before. And then she's hit with a sudden onslaught of confidence from time to time, and she uses it to kind of aid her in some ways, but then she realizes that sudden onslaught isn't just an accident, it isn't just a coincidence, it's something, it's an ability that she can use, and it's an ability that's intimately tied to her mind, both in a good and bad way. So of course we have new characters come in. We have someone there to tell you, like, help her, but is he really helping her? Do we like him? Do we not like him? I really like to put those types of characters in there, those morally ambiguous characters who you can either hate or love. And so we have some of that in there, and it's basically about her journey. It's about her realizing, like, you be careful what you wish for. Because of course, even like me, when I was younger, just like when she was younger, I wanted something exciting to happen. I wanted, oh man, this is so boring. I need something exciting and fun. And so it's kind of that type of lesson in there, because something exciting but yet dangerous does happen to her. It's kind of about her coping with that. It's about her journey through that. Yeah.
How were you able to write the book and also juggle schoolwork and other activities?
That's a question I actually get quite a lot. It was really breaks. It was everything we've mentioned before about, like, me needing an outlet and me definitely, like, saying, I need to finish this. I hate starting something and not finishing it, so I needed to finish it. But really, it was breaks. It was Thanksgiving break, it was winter break, it was summer break. It was those moments when I could sit down, but yeah, I have a hard time just sitting down, so I could at least sit down and write. Those were those moments.
Now, what's your target audience with the book?
The target audience is kind of, I would say, 8th grade to maybe senior year high school girls. That was definitely the target audience, because I think that was me when I was writing it. And you definitely kind of hear a little bit of me through Melissa, which I couldn't help but to do. So, yes.
Oh, wow, that's very good. That's very good. Now, where can people purchase the book and stuff?
It's available through Amazon, as well as it's available through Barnes & Noble. I think the hard copy is about $18, but I'm sure there's some sales maybe. And then the ebook copy is $3.99. So yeah, just maybe go in there, type in Mind Wanderer, see what pops up. Hopefully it's this.
Yes, absolutely. The Mind Wanderer. Let me show our viewers. Make sure you get a copy of this book, The Mind Wanderer by Marlene Kanmogne. Thank you for joining us here on the Eunice Malath Show. Make sure you tune in next time for another episode of the program.
If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the history. Welcome to the culture. Welcome to Kanmogne.